You know that feeling? You open your banking app, look at the balance, and it's basically mocking you. Maybe it's $673, maybe it's $248 if it's been a good month. Either way, that number looks like it's saying, seriously, this is all you've got after all that work? Meanwhile, some financial influencer on the internet is telling you, once you save your first $7,000, the next $7,000 comes twice as fast. And you're thinking, yeah, right. Tell that to my credit card statement and my car payment. I'm Hamster, and I'm here to tell you the unvarnished truth. That influencer isn't lying. In fact, they're not even telling you the full story of how dramatically easier it gets. The psychology and mathematics behind why your first $700 is 1,000 times harder than your next $7,000. That's not feel-good motivation. It's cold, hard science. And it's exactly why most people stay stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck loop their entire lives. If you're tired of feeling like a hamster on a wheel, running faster every year but ending up in the same place, hit subscribe. Because we're about to break down the psychological war happening in your head every time you try to save money. And by the end, you'll have a roadmap to make your first $700, then $7,000, then $70,000. Before we get into the numbers, let me ask you something. When you think of people who have financial freedom, what comes to mind? Maybe you picture someone who never worried about money, someone who just naturally understood how to save and invest, someone born with a special financial gene you clearly missed out on. Here's a truth that might sting. The difference between people who build wealth and people who live paycheck to paycheck has almost nothing to do with how much they earn. It has everything to do with understanding the invisible psychological forces working against them. Your brain is literally wired to sabotage your financial success. Neuroscientists call this temporal discounting. Fancy term, simple idea. Your brain values immediate rewards way more than future ones. It sees $25 for a meal today and thinks, oh yes, that's fantastic. The same $25 saved for future you? It feels as exciting as watching a spreadsheet update. But here's where it gets interesting. The same psychological mechanism that makes your first $700 feel impossible later makes the next $7,000 feel almost automatic, once you know how to work with it instead of against it. The trick is to hack your brain's reward system, not fight it. The first barrier you face is the house money effect. Your brain treats money differently depending on where it came from. Your salary, heavy, important, painful to spend, but $75 you found in an old jacket, or a tax refund, or a birthday gift from your aunt, your brain tags it as play money, and you blow it on stupid stuff without a second thought. This is a huge reason why people with decent incomes can't save. They mentally categorize money in ways that rob themselves of future wealth. The second barrier is money scripts, unconscious beliefs about money you absorbed as a kid. They run your financial life even if you don't realize it. Maybe your parents argued about bills constantly, so now your brain associates money with stress and conflict. Maybe you heard, we can't afford that so often that your inner voice genuinely believes you're not the kind of person who gets nice things. Or maybe money was never discussed at all, so you feel a weird shame about even thinking about wealth, as if wanting financial security makes you greedy or shallow. These invisible scripts make financial decisions for you every single day. And most people live their whole lives without ever realizing they're there. The first step to breaking free is to notice them. Now for the really wild part. Your brain is evolutionarily programmed to keep you alive, not to make you wealthy. For thousands of years, the humans who survived were the ones who grabbed immediate resources, because there was no guarantee those resources would still be there tomorrow. Your brain is still running that ancient software. It's screaming, spend now. What if there's no food tomorrow? What if the shelter disappears? What if this opportunity never comes again? It's completely irrational in our modern world, but your brain doesn't know that. That's why your first $700 is such a brutal battle. You're not fighting your circumstances or your income. You're fighting your own biology. Every time you save instead of spend, you're going against instincts that have been honed for millions of years, and your brain will fight you every step of the way. But here's the good news. Once you understand this, you can stop blaming yourself for being bad with money. You can start designing systems that work with your brain, not against it. But here's the magic. Once you hit a certain psychological threshold, something shifts. Your brain stops seeing saving as deprivation and starts seeing it as achievement. The same mechanisms that worked against you suddenly flip and start working for you. Research shows when you have zero savings, the idea of saving $15,000 feels impossible. Your brain doesn't even try. But once you save your first $700, something clicks. Your brain gets proof. I am the kind of person who can save. This isn't woo-woo psychology. It's measurable, documented behavioral change. People who successfully save their first $700 are exponentially more likely to save the next 1,000 than people who have never saved anything. Your brain simply rewrites its story about who you are. This is why financial experts obsess over the first small milestone. It's not about the money, it's about the transformation in your self-image. Let's do the numbers. Suppose you decide to save just $75 a month. Yes, I know. You're thinking, Hamster, I don't even have an extra $75. But just look at the mechanics. At $75 a month, it takes you 9 months and 1 week to save your first $700. 9 months of saying no, feeling like you're standing still, and getting weird looks from friends who don't understand why you won't go to the bar. But you keep going. Now suppose you invest that $700 at a modest 7% annual return. Your next $700 will take not 9 months, but 8 months and 2 weeks. A small difference, but the trend has started. Third $700, 7 months and 3 weeks. Fourth $700, 6 months and 2 weeks. Fifth $700, 5 months and 3 weeks. By the time you're working on your 10,000, each new $700 comes in less than 4 months, and that's just from your money starting to work. But here's where brains explode. When you have $20,000 saved at 7%, your investments generate about $1,400 per year. That's roughly $117 a month you earn while doing nothing. You sleep, you work, you binge Netflix, and your money works for you. At this point, you start checking your investment balance not with fear, but with excitement. Your psychology flips. You no longer feel like you're depriving yourself. You feel like you're winning a game where the prize is your freedom. Most people think money is for buying things. Wealthy people know money is for buying choices. When you have no savings, you have no financial choices. You take whatever job you can get, not the one you want. You live where you can afford, not where you dream. You make decisions based on what you can pay this month, not what's best for your future. But when you have $8,000, $15,000, $40,000, you have options. You can take risks that broke people can't. You can quit a soul-crushing job because you have a buffer. You can invest in yourself, start a business, seize an opportunity that requires upfront capital. That's why they say the first $100,000 is the hardest. It's not just about compound interest, it's about the psychological transformation that happens when you prove to yourself you can build wealth. Your entire relationship with money changes. The average American spends more on takeout coffee in a year than they have in their emergency fund. Let that sink in. People are more committed to their caffeine fix than to their own financial security. And then they wonder why they're constantly anxious about money. Say, you buy a $4.50 coffee every workday. That's $90 a month, $1,080 a year. Over 10 years, almost $11,000. And if you invested that $1,080 a year at 7%, after 10 years, it would be about $15,600. After 20 years, nearly $45,000. Your coffee habit is literally costing you $45,000 of future wealth. But it's not about coffee. Most people don't buy coffee because they're lazy. They buy it because those 15 minutes in the coffee shop are the only pleasure in their day. They're not buying a drink. They're buying an escape from a job they hate. This is the key. You can't solve an emotional problem with a mathematical solution. Telling someone who's buying happiness to just stop spending is like telling a drowning person to just stop breathing water. You're missing the root cause. That's why the first $700 is so hard. You're not just changing habits, you're rewiring the relationship between money and emotion. You're learning to find satisfaction in delayed gratification instead of instant pleasure. You're overwriting decades of conditioning that told you spending equals feeling better. The people who make this transition don't do it through willpower alone. They replace spending habits with saving habits that provide similar emotional rewards. Instead of getting excited about a new purchase, they get excited about their investment balance growing. Instead of feeling good about a restaurant dinner, they feel good about adding another $150 to their portfolio. And one day they notice They're more excited about a $300 gain in their investments than they would be about spending $300 on shopping. That's the moment when building wealth stops feeling like a sacrifice and starts feeling like a game they're winning. And here's the secret that nobody tells you. Once you experience that feeling, you become addicted to it. You start looking for ways to save more, earn more, invest more. Not because you're depriving yourself, but because you genuinely enjoy watching your wealth grow. Let's get practical. Here's an exercise that has helped thousands of people break through the first barrier. For the next 30 days, I want you to do 3 things. First, track every single expense, every coffee, every snack, every subscription. Use a simple notebook or a free app. Don't judge yourself, just observe. Second, at the end of each day, ask yourself one question. Did this purchase bring me lasting happiness, or was it just a reflex? Third, every time you resist an impulse buy, transfer the amount you would have spent into a separate savings account. Even $3, even $7, do it immediately. What this does is rewire your brain's reward system. Instead of getting a dopamine hit from spending, you get a dopamine hit from saving. You're training your brain to associate saving with pleasure. After 30 days, you'll have data. You'll know exactly where your money goes, and you'll have a small pile of savings that you can use as your first $700 seed. Another psychological trap that keeps people from their first $700 is the one big purchase fallacy. You think, I'll start saving after I buy that new phone. Or, I'll start saving after I take that vacation. Or, I'll start saving after I pay off this one credit card. There will always be another after. The magic trick is to start before. Save your first $5 today. Save your first $20 this week. Not next month. Not after the holidays. Now, the wealthy understand that small, consistent actions beat grand plans that never happen. A person who saves $20 a week for a year has over $1,000. A person who waits for the right time has 0. Here's what most people don't understand about momentum. It's not linear. The first win is tiny. You save $20. Nothing changes. You save another $20. Still nothing. But around the 8th or 9th week, something shifts. You look at your savings and realize you have $200, then $300, then $500. Each small win makes the next win easier. Not because the math changes, but because you change. You start to see yourself as someone who saves, and that identity is worth more than any single dollar amount. I've seen people with modest incomes build 6-figure portfolios, not because they were financial geniuses, but because they stacked small wins over years. They saved $75 a month, then $100, then $200. They reinvested dividends, they ignored market noise, and they let time do the heavy lifting. Let's talk about something most financial advice ignores. What happens when you mess up? You will mess up. You'll have a month where you spend too much. You'll have an emergency that drains your savings. You'll feel like you're back at 0. Here's the truth. Setbacks are not failures. They're data. They're part of the process. The people who reach their first $700 aren't the ones who never slip. They're the ones who slip and then keep going. When you have a bad month, don't use it as an excuse to quit. Use it as information. What triggered the overspending? How can you prevent it next time? Maybe you need a bigger buffer. Maybe you need to automate more. Maybe you need to remove temptations. The only real failure is stopping entirely. There's a saying in psychology, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This applies to money too. If your friends are broke and spendthrift, you'll struggle to save. If your friends are financially conscious, you'll absorb their habits. You don't have to dump your friends, but you should be aware of their influence. Find at least one person who shares your financial goals. An accountability partner. Someone you can text when you're tempted to blow your budget. Join online communities focused on saving and investing. Listen to podcasts. Read books. Surround yourself with the mindset you want to adopt. Over time, it will become your default. Remember temporal discounting? Your brain doesn't care about the future because it's abstract, so make it concrete. Create a visual tracker, a chart on your wall, a jar with marbles representing each $10 saved, a digital graph that updates monthly. Every time you add to your savings, mark it. Watch the line move. Your brain responds to visual progress. It releases dopamine when you see the number grow. That's the same chemical you get from spending, but now it's tied to saving. Also, practice visualizing your future self. Close your eyes and imagine yourself at $5,000. at $20,000, at $100,000? How do you feel? What can you do that you can't do now? Make that feeling real. Your brain will start working toward it. One of the biggest psychological barriers to saving is comparison. You look at social media and see people on vacations, buying new cars, eating at expensive restaurants. You think, they have it all. I have nothing. Here's the secret. Most of those people are broke. They're financing their lifestyle with debt. They're not building wealth. They're building an illusion. The quiet millionaire next door drives a 10-year-old car and shops at Costco. Define your own enough. What does financial freedom mean to you? Is it not worrying about a car repair? Is it taking a year off to travel? Is it retiring at 55? Once you know your own goal, other people's spending becomes irrelevant. If you want to accelerate your first $700, here are 3 advanced tactics. Tactic 1, the no-spend weekend. Once a month, commit to spending 0 discretionary money for 48 hours. No takeout, no online shopping, no entertainment. You'll be surprised how much you save and how little you miss it. Tactic 2, the 24-hour rule. For any non-essential purchase over $50, wait 24 hours. If you still want it tomorrow, buy it. Most of the time, the urge will pass. Tactic 3, the side hustle sprint. For 1 month, dedicate all your spare time to a side hustle. Freelance work, selling items online, tutoring. Put every dollar earned into your savings. You can often make $700 in a month this way. These tactics work because they create focus. You're not trying to change everything at once. You're running a short sprint to reach the first milestone, then you can breathe. Let's be specific. What does $700 in savings actually do for you? It covers most car repairs, a new alternator, brakes, a sensor. It covers a last-minute flight to a family emergency. It covers a month of groceries if you lose your job. It covers a deductible for an insurance claim. But more importantly, it covers your peace of mind. The first $700 means you don't have to put an unexpected expense on a credit card. It means you can say no to a payday loan. It means you have a tiny buffer between you and disaster. And once you have that buffer, you can start thinking about $1,000, then $2,000, then $5,000. Each milestone builds on the last. So here's the bottom line. Your first $700 isn't just a number, it's a battlefield where you fight millions of years of evolutionary history, childhood money scripts, the house money effect, and the urge for instant gratification. But once you win that battle, everything changes. Compound interest and rewired psychology start working for you. Wealth stops being a dream and becomes inevitable. You can keep making excuses about why this won't work for you, or you can start this short but intense fight against your own impulses. Your future self, the one with freedom, security, and real choices, is waiting. I'm Hamster. Let's build wealth. Subscribe.